Hey guys, Golden Guardians announced their 2020 roster with this incredibly well produced and edited video. I think the content of it is pretty bad, but the way it's edited and the way it's produced is amazing. You guys should definitely watch it. So the short of it is their new roster will be Hauntzer, staying over from 2019. Closer, dude from Turkey, he's actually a good friend of Broken Blade. They used to both play on the same team, Royal Bandits. Goldenglue, he's like Vault Boy, the player everyone knows and loves. FBI, their academy / LCS, bot laner from Australia. And Keith, their academy AD carry, role swapping to support. So the first real big topic that we have to talk about is removal of Froggen. I think Froggen is like a system player, or a player with his own system. Any team Froggen plays on is like a Froggen system team. Normally, almost all Froggen teams excel in team fights, they have solid laning from mid, and they generally tend to play slow games. And I was gonna include they have pretty passive early game in here, but a lot of times I think it comes from the kind of junglers that Froggen is paired with more so than Froggen himself. Also, I was talking to Froggen about this yesterday and I got yelled at, so I went back and thought of it a lot. So there are a lot of good things when you play with Froggen, but also there are things that can hurt the overall progress and the growth of the other players on the team. So yeah, I can kind of understand why Golden Guardians is pressing the reset button again. And also for the Froggen fans, don't worry too much. Froggen is rumored to go to Dignitas as their starting mid lane. That's gonna be a whole another video on its own. So yeah, let's leave it at that. So there is a lot of experiments going on for this Golden Guardians roster. So let's talk about them. I think there's like three main ones. First one is the minor region imports. FBI was on Academy last year and he got some starting time, and he's going to be a full-time starter this year. I think FBI is actually someone that's pretty decent in lane, and Huhi was I'm going to be mean, Huhi was a pretty garbage support. I don't think his role swap to support was very successful, so maybe FBI was hampered by laning with Huhi, so his laning could be even better. And his team fight I actually thought was not the best, so yeah, we'll have to see more from FBI. For Closer, he's the Summer Split MVP from TCL, and there's been this recent trend about picking up players from Turkey. I mean, Caps used to play in Turkey, and then he got picked up by Fnatic. Broken Blade played in Turkey, and then now he's getting picked up. Closer had like an okay performance at Worlds. He's someone that is mechanically gifted, but I want to see more of him whenever he's playing from behind, or yeah, whenever he's playing in a higher tier region like Turkey to NA. Yes, NA is a higher tier region than Turkey. Come at me, EU fans. And another really big experiment they're doing is what's old is new again, with Goldenglue starting.
So Cloud9 will be trading Academy mid laner Goldenglue to Golden Guardians, where he will start in return for Academy mid laner Palafox, who will play on Cloud9 Academy or be traded.
I mean, Goldenglue has started before as a full-time starter for previous teams like TL in 2017, C9 2018. You can go even further back with like Dignitas and Ember. Those weren't very successful. And now he's starting full-time with GGS 2020. So I think the most successful Goldenglue has been is on C9 2018 when he was paired with Sven Skaren. And he was like put in sparingly as like a little bit of like a spicy secret weapon. But yeah, Goldenglue as a full-time starter. Ooh, I'm not too sure about this one. The interesting thing is this has been in the works for a while. So people that are close to Goldenglue have told me that this happened like a long time ago. Like Golden Guardians had decided to invest into Goldenglue from pretty much beginning of their offseason, which is really interesting to me that they didn't even consider looking at potential imports that might be available. Like Leader is a free agent like very late into the offseason, and yeah, there was just a lot of free agents that they could have looked at, but they were so committed to Goldenglue from the start. So yeah, kind of weird. And then finally, the last experiment they're doing is role swap, with Keith role swapping from AD carry to support. In the video, if you see, this isn't really like a voluntary Keith idea. It's more of like, we have you under contract and you have hands, so why don't you come play support for us?
I'm wanting someone with hands that can see when they can actually like punish and kill in lane.
Super weird. I think Keith is a mechanically gifted player. I worked with him briefly on TSM when he was our sub support, or sub AD carry, excuse me, when Turtle was struggling. And he was someone that I wouldn't say is the smartest, but he was mechanically gifted and he could execute on things we needed him to do. So like Inero says in the video, yes, he does have hands. But support isn't a role just about having hands. The skill check for support is your game knowledge and kind of leadership. You need to be able to read the map very well and know exactly where you need to be. You need to be able to call for plays and tell other people what they need to be doing along with you. A lot of support is you can't do things by yourself and you need to lead other people. And Keith swapping into a new role and really not as like a leadership figure person, I think is going to struggle a lot. When you think of all the great supporters nowadays, like Core JJ, who else? Hillesong, like they're pretty vocal and they know what they want to do and they command other people. So yeah, I just don't think Keith has a correct skill set to role swap to his support. He's just not a very brainy player, and I thought AD carry was a perfect role for him. So I really don't see this one going well. Now, Hauntzer is the only dependable piece they're bringing over to 2020. I was initially confused why they're keeping him if they're going to be very budget and experimental with the roster, but yeah, it kind of makes sense when you think about how experimental they are being. It is important to have like a solid pillar that you can lean on that is going to be the consistent, the good part of your team, the part you can depend on, and that's going to be Hauntzer. Now, I think we can actually expect more changes as the season goes on, because the roster itself is like very experimental. Some of it's going to work out, some of it's not going to work out, and they are going to make changes based on that. Golden Guardians has been an org to show willingness to swap players in the middle of the split consistently depending on how things go. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to see more changes. A lot of these moves have extreme variance. Closer, FBI, these guys can be smash hits and they could be gold because they are eating up import slots. If they don't do well, they are going to get changed pretty quickly. Like for Closer and FBI, their competition isn't North American players. Their competition is actually international imports. So I think like the big rumor is, and something that the teams are banking on, is that these minor region imports in the future will now count as like full imports. I think that is something that's gonna happen in the future. And I think that's why we are seeing stuff like Ryoma 400D's mid lane and like Closer and FBI and more people investing into these minor region imports. Cause in the future, I'm pretty sure they're not going to change. That's like the only thing that makes sense to me. If not, then why would teams invest into these kind of players when they can just get Koreans or Europeans? And yeah, like I said before, Keith has never been a brain player, so him swapping to support seems like a desperation move for GGS when they actively talked about in the video they couldn't get Hakuo, so we don't have great options, so we're just going to go with Keith. So I don't understand that move. Also, as someone that swapped to support before as an AD carry, there's a certain amount of ego that gets carried around being an AD carry that has to get crushed and humbled to swap to support and play for another AD carry. So I'm also curious how Keith is going to deal with that. Overall thoughts, not a very competitive roster. It probably was on the cheaper side. The experiments they are running are interesting and I want to see how they pan out. I think it's going to be very hard for this roster to break top 6 though. Golden Guardians, well, it's going to be an interesting spring 2020. I'll be keeping a close eye. I'm not going to make too much harsh of a judgment yet. Let's see how things do pan out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. We're going to do a video on every single team. I'm not crazy. I'm just Loco.